welcome back to my channel. My name is Anke and today I have my 2020 wrap-up video for you guys. So please go make yourself a cup of coffee because it is going to be a very long video considering I read 111 books this year. So, you know, let's get started. Okay, so like I said, I managed to read 111 books this year, which is absolutely freaking insane. Like, how did I manage to read that many books? So I definitely want to share with you guys everything I read this year. So the way I think I will be doing this, I will be going by every single month. And I'm not going to talk specifically about every single book, but I will just pick out some of my favorites to mention something about them. So let's get started with the month of January. So I will be keeping my Goodreads by my side because I can't remember everything. So let's just go through all of the books that I managed to read in January. I started the year off with reading With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Escovedo, and I'm sorry if I pronounced this wrong. I really enjoyed this book. It was a buddy read. Then I read City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. Then I read The Last Widow by Karen Slaughter, and the last book I read in January was Cold Blood from the Erica Foster series by Robert Brinza. So those are the books I read in January. Let's go on to February. Okay, so February I started with Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. Then I read 5 Feet Apart by Rachel Lippincott. Then I read P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han, which has become one of my favorite feel-good series. Then I read 100 by Cass Morgan. I was very disappointed with this book because I fell in love with the TV show, and the TV show is so different from all of the books. So I'm pretty sure if you read the books first, you'll absolutely love them. But to me, I was just kind of disappointed. Then I read Bloodlines by Rochelle Mead, and I fell in love with one of my new all-time favorite series. Then I read No Good Deed by John Niven, Deadly Secrets by Robert Brinza, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas, and again I fell in love with one of my new favorite series, and I can't wait to read the new book which will be coming out in February of this year. Then I read Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and again I fell in love with this, and it has become another favorite series of mine. And last thing I read in that month was You by Caroline Kepnes. I also didn't really like this book. So here's the trend. I will be mentioning the books I really loved, or the books that were kind of disappointing, books I don't really talk about, I just enjoyed. But anyway, those were my reads for the month of February. Now let's go on to March. Okay, so in the month of March, I read, let me see if I can grab them, all of these books. It is the entire Vampire Academy series and the Bloodline series by Rochelle Mead. Like I said, I fell in love with the Bloodline series, the first book, in February, so I just had to read the rest of the series, and I did my reread of Vampire Academy as well, and I just loved going back into that world. I remember reading the Vampire Academy series when I was, I think, in high school, so it was so much fun to reread that. I also read Yes, No, Maybe So by Becky Albertelli. I didn't really like this book. It was about a lot of political stuff in America, and since I don't live in America, I couldn't really relate. But you know, I'm pretty sure that March was the month where the lockdown started in the Netherlands, and that's why I managed to read so many books in that month. But let's go on to the month of April. Okay, so the month of April was the month where I participated in the Owls Readathon. So I read so many books in this month. It is absolutely insane, and I need to again grab my phone to see what I read in what order. I started the month off with The Crimes of Grindelwald by J.K. Rowling. Then I read Attachments by Rainbow Rowell. Then I read The Girl the Sea Gave Back by Adrienne Young, The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and I absolutely fell in love with this series and I couldn't wait to read the rest of it. Then I read Letters to the Lost by Bridget Kemmerer. This was such a surprising book for me. I fell in love with it. It is such a sad book, but it is so beautiful, and like I said, I loved it. After that, I read A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I read City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. I read my very first poetry book, which was Milk and Honey by Rabbi Carr. City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. Then I had a reread of the first 3 Harry Potter books, which was very fitting during a Harry Potter readathon. Then I read All the Bad Apples by Maura Filey Doyle. I really did enjoy this book. It was super weird, but I ended up giving it away to someone else who I knew would also love this book. So I don't have it anymore, but I did enjoy it. Then I read Harry Potter, A Journey Through a History of Magic. And I ended the month with reading The Girl Who Came Out of the Woods by Emily Barr, which was also a very unexpected fun book to read. And that was a crazy amount of books to read during 1 month, but I'm pretty sure I read a lot of books during the month of May as well, because I was still spending quite a bit of time at home. So let's go see what I read in May. So this was also an insanely good reading month, and I started listening to audiobooks in this month, so I will also be mentioning a couple of those. So I started the month off with The Nightjar by Deborah Hewitt. I don't own this book anymore. It wasn't for me. It was a kind of adult fantasy, and I think I kind of made a mistake in that I didn't realize that that was what it was. So I just didn't love it. Then I read Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson, and I fell in love with this author, and I can't wait to read more of her books. And this was like my first very summery read, and I was so ready for spring to happen. Then I read Aristotle and Dante Discovering the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Chance. I am so bad at pronouncing names, so I'm so sorry because I'm completely butchering these names. I don't own this book anymore. I did enjoy it, but sometimes when I enjoyed a book but I didn't love it, I kind of just like sell it or give it away to someone who I think might like it more than I did. So that's what happened to some of these books. Then I read An Abundance of Catrins by John Green. Then A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. Loved it. This is, I think, my favorite in that series. Then I read The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. I don't have this copy currently because this book we turned into a traveling book, and it is currently on its way back to me. And I'm so curious to see what all the people who have read it after me have written in it. So I actually think I might at some point do a reread of that book and do a reading vlog on it while also seeing what other people wrote in it. I think that might be a fun thing to do. Then I read Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen M. McManus, and I fell in love with Karen M. McManus. I loved this book. It was so good. It is a mystery book, and I absolutely loved it. Then I ended up listening to It's Not Summer Without You by Jenny Han and We'll Always Have Summer by Jenny Han. I listened to them in audiobook because they were just so much fun on audiobook. I really enjoyed that. Then I started my favorite series. Like, I am wearing my Clockwork Angel right now. I started The Infernal Devices, which is the first one, Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. I fell in love with it. It is like historical fantasy, and it's just so good. I love it. Then I read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this has become one of my favorite books of the year. So this entire book is written in interview style, which I think is so creative, and it's pretty much the 70s. Sex, drugs, music, rock and roll. Do I need to say more? It's great. Then I finished reading this series with Always and Forever Lara Jean by Jenny Han. such a cute ending, and right around this time the movies came out as well. I believe it was the second one that came out. It was so cute and I can't wait to watch the last one. Then I read Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I read Love and Luck by Jenna Evans-Wells, which is such a cute summery read. I really enjoyed it. And I finished the Infernal Devices series by Cassandra Clare, and like I said, I fell in love, and it is my favorite trilogy of like all of the Shadowhunter books. And again, it was an insanely great reading month, and I know that when June started I had to get back to work a lot more, so I'm pretty sure next month will be a little bit less than the last two. So I was wrong. June was another great reading month for me. So let's just go through what I read. I read City of Fallen Angels by Cassandra Clare, The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne, City of Lost Souls by Cassandra Clare, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare, The Shadowhunter Codex, The Bane Chronicles, Tales of the Shadowhunter Academy, also all by Cassandra Clare, Lord of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas, another 2 books by Cassandra Clare, Lady Midnight and Lord of Shadows of the Dark Artifices series. I read Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson, which has become my favorite book of the entire year. I read this in one sitting. I am definitely not an evening person. I always end up going to sleep pretty early, and I ended up reading this until like 1:30 in the morning or something like that. I could not put it down. Like, this is a mystery book where a girl solves a murder, and there is so many twists and turns in this book. It was just so freaking good. Then I read Quidditch Through the Ages, and I finished the month with The Book Thief, which I ended up not liking, which was so sad because that book was pretty hyped up and I had high expectations. It just wasn't. When the summer started, I needed to work a lot extra, so I finally read a little bit less than all of the other months, which was crazy. But I started the month off with reading Queen of Air and Darkness, which is also finishing the Dark Artifices series, and it is right away the biggest book I read this year with a whopping 860 something pages. This book was so big but so good, and it ended that series. Then I was so happy to read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This is a spin-off on the Hunger Games series, and it was so great to go back into that world. I really missed it. The Hunger Games was one of my favorite like childhood like teenage series that I read, and I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun reading it, and I was pleasantly surprised with this book. I read Ghosts of the Shadow Market by Cassandra Clare, which is a book about Jem, one of the characters from the Infernal Devices, and I really like this, considering Jem is one of my favorite all-around characters. Then I read my first arc, which was Night Owls in Summer Skies by Rebecca Sullivan. Then I listened to the book Not With the Band by Kelly Warner. Then I read another arc, which was My Life in Plants, and this was so cute. It is by Katie Vaz. It was also an arc that I read, and the illustrations in this book is awesome. She is like so talented. She has like illustrated her life, and each chapter revolves around a plant, but that plant has like a story about a chapter of her life. So creative, so cute. I can definitely recommend it. It's like a cute but quick read. And then I finished the month off with Good Girl Bad Blood, and I just realized that I like switch these two around, but these two go together. It is the sequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, so read that one and loved it. So then we are going on to the month of August. So August was the month of the nude, so I actually managed to read quite a few books in that month, so let's see what I read. I started off with The Tales of Beedle the Bard. Then I read Going Off Script by Jen Wilder, The Red Schools of Magic by Cassandra Clare, Heartstopper by Alice Osman, which was my very first graphic novel. I read Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. Again, so fun to dive back into like my teenage years with this book. I really enjoyed it. The Last True Poets of the Sea by Julia Drake. One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus, also in my top 10 of favorite books from the year. Listen to Your Heart by Casey West, my very first Casey West book, and it was so cute. She will definitely be one of my favorite summer authors. The Wicked King by Holly Black. Then I messed up big time because I read Rune and Rising by Leigh Bardugo, which is the third book in the Shadow and Bone series and not the second one, but I found it out until it was too late. I'm an idiot. And I ended the month by reading Othello from William Shakespeare. I actually read this for a Rory Gilmore related readathon. So that was August, and as you can see, like, I'm emptying out my shelves behind me. So let's see what I managed to read in September. So in September, I took a little break. I got kind of in a reading slump and I read a lot less. Still managed to read quite a few though. I read Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Then I listened to P.S. I Like You by Casey West. I read A Year of Marvelous Ways by Sarah Winman. And I had a reread of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And that was it for September. Okay, so let's go into the month of October. I started the month with The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black, which ended up being my favorite book in this series. Then I read The Lost Book of the White by Cassandra Clare. A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavallaro. This ended up also being in my top 10 favorite books of the year, and I can't wait to read the other 3 books that are already out in this series. They are all definitely on my TBR for 2021. I read Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo, which is when I found out that I completely messed up and this is the second book and not Rune and Rising, but you know, I just went with it and I read it. I enjoyed it, and I closed the month off with Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery, and this ended up being one of my favorite books of the year as well. It is just so cute, and look how stunning this Puffing Bloom edition is. It's just so pretty. So with that, we are going to the second to last month of the year, November. Okay, so November was a orange/red reading month for me. I started off with reading Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Then I had a reread of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I read One of Us is Next by Karen M. McManus, which is the sequel to One of Us is Lying, and again, I loved it. I had my reread of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and I ended the month with reading Burn Our Bodies Down by Rory Power, which is such a weird read, and I love it. So with that, we are going on to December, the last month of the year. I started the month off with Op glad ijs by Sarah Byron. The English title is Cold Day in the Sun. I read My True Love Gave Me by 12 different authors. Useless Bay by M.J. Beaufrand. Dickens' Christmas Story, which is a translated story by Merel Lene. I had my very first read-along for that. I had my reread of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I finally read Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare, and I loved it. I think this might end up being my second favorite trilogy for the Shadowhunter world, and I can't wait to read Chain of Iron, which will be out in, I think, March of 2021. And I finished up the year with reading Little Woman by Louisa May Alcott, and that were all the books I read this year. That is absolutely insane, the amount of books that I read. So I'm going to like place you guys back a little bit so you can see what I'm sitting in. Okay, so that was an absolutely insane pile. That is crazy, and I'm even more disturbed by the idea that like I purchased like 90% of these books in 2020. Like, I spent so much money on this. That is crazy. Okay, but Wow. Yes, those were all the books I read. Please let me know down in the comments below how many books you managed to read this year and whether it was a crazy amount as this. Like, this is definitely not my goal for 2020. I set my goal for 2020 on 35 books, so that's a huge difference. Yes, if you're still here, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will talk to you guys in my next one.